Our last full day in Nevada starts with a gentle climb over our first pass of 7,700 feet, and then a steeper climb over a shorter pass. Today we will hit the highest point of US 50 across Nevada at Connors Pass. This stretch of road is designated a scenic byway by the state of Nevada. We'll pass the Ward Charcoal Ovens State Historical Park and the Great Basin National Park. Again, we're camels today, carrying a lot of water as we don't expect any water opportunities along the route. Good morning from Ely, Nevada. I had a tough night last night. When I arrived and took my clothes off, I realized that I had hives all over my torso and legs. I got hives a lot as a kid in middle school, but really not so much since. I think it was because I was overdressed. I had my puffy jacket on and a windbreaker, and every time I was climbing, I was just so hot. But every time I stopped, I didn't want to take it off because I was too cold, and every time I descended from one of those mountain passes. And so I think the heat in my torso caused those hives, and so that made for a restless night of sleep last night. But thankfully, today will be a bit easier than the past couple days. It is day 11 and Sunday, May 25, or is it May 26? But it is the day before Memorial Day. We're about to have breakfast at the hotel's Continental Breakfast. The Continental Breakfast is supposed to open up at 7 a.m. It's 7:15 a.m. and the lobby is locked. Nobody's there. There's 2 numbers on the door. I tried calling them both and there was no answer at either of them. Do not stay at the Hotel Magnuson Parkview in Ely. Story time. First story is, this isn't the typical camera I use for on the bike. That's because my action camera mount broke yesterday, and I did go to the sporting goods store to see about a replacement, but they had nothing. All they had was a cell phone mount. The next story is that I'm very itchy, and it's because of one of 2 things. It's either the hives or the fact that I'm on a heroin withdrawal and haven't had my heroin for a while. It's making me all itchy. One of those 2 things. Use your imagination. And then the third story is about the hotel this morning. Breakfast didn't open until 45 minutes late. There was no apology given by the staff, and they didn't even have everything out. I had to wait another 15 minutes for them to get hot water out to us. And when we were done with breakfast, we went back to our room, and our room key didn't work, which wasn't the hugest surprise because when they first checked us in yesterday, the room key didn't work. We had to go back. So we go back to the desk. Nobody's there. We knock on the laundry door. Nobody. We knock on the private door. Nobody's there. We knock on the office door. Nobody's there. We call the numbers multiple times listed. No answers. And then, so 20 minutes has passed, and we can't get back into our room. So we have the thought, hey, how about we try to use their key card maker, which we could see on the other side of the desk. So we leaned over and picked it up and started hacking our way to getting a 103 room key card remade. And we tried about 5 times and failed every time. Paul decided to go to another motel that had the same name as this one, thinking maybe the staff were there. They weren't answering their phone either. While he did that, the staff came back and I explained the situation. And I was honest with them about having used their keycard reader, and they didn't seem to care. But then they made a new card for me, and I had my doubts. I said, "You're gonna stay right here. You're not leaving She said, no, I'm not leaving. Okay, because I want to make sure this card works. So I go to the room. I try it. It did not work. I go back to the lobby. She is not there. And I rush outside yelling, where are you? Where are you? The card didn't work. And I found her on the way to the laundry area. And so they got us in using the, the master key for the maids. Yikes. So I think that this hotel had one staff member that was managing 2 properties and going back and forth. And so I'm sure it wasn't their fault, but this hotel needs some customer service training and some upgrades. Story time is over. A pickup truck with a bike on its back pulled over in front of us and waved us down to stop. And really kind man, he offered us water and snacks. And it turns out last summer 2023, he did the bike race across America. And I'm sure you'll hear more about that on this channel. But it's an annual event where bikers start in Astoria, Oregon, and they end in either Washington, D.C. or Yorktown, Virginia. So this guy did it last year. He finished in, get this, 11 days. And I told him, guess what day we're on of our trip? This is day 11. Going at his pace, we would be reaching the Atlantic Ocean by this evening. Oh my. I mentioned yesterday my new notes system for climbs. So today, day 11, Ely, Nevada to Baker, Nevada, from 10 to 22 miles. That's from the start of the ride. From 10 to 22 miles, I'm climbing to 7,500 feet. That's the climb I'm on right now. And then from 38 to 47 miles is another climb I'll make up to 7,100 feet. So between that information and the data I have on my GPS, I'll always know how much farther until I crest the pass. We just made a 7,700 foot summit and there was no sign. Well, my GPS said it was 7734 or something. Trying to race ahead to get to the shadow of this cloud. I much prefer cycling in under the protection of clouds than in the sunlight. Another Trail Angel experience. This second pass we're going over today is much more difficult than the first. There's long stretches of 6 to 8% grades, and those are just soul crushing. Your legs just start to give out after a few hundred yards of that, having to take frequent breaks. And yeah, I had water to make it to the end, but it was discouraging when I went to drink and the water was warm. And there was a family out next to their house. There's not many houses out here. And I thought, yeah, I gotta ask. So I pulled my bike up and I said, I'm sorry, can I trouble you for some cold water? And they obliged. They took my water bottles and filled them up with, well, it was cool water. It wasn't necessarily cold, but that made a lot of difference. So another Trail Angel experience that I'm really grateful for. This is Thorns Aplenty, Antler Art. Oh, I'm rewarded with a sign acknowledging my accomplishment. Oh, thank you, State of Nevada, for placing that sign there. Makes me feel good. All right, now let's descend. That'll be fun. Welcome from my tent. Here's the daily recap for day 11. Scenery was a 9. We had more beautiful snow-capped mountains in Nevada, and there's a great change in the scenery as you descend and elevate, moving from deciduous trees to more brushy landscape. It was really superb. Difficulty, for me, it was a 9. I've had 3 really tough days in a row where I ran out of gas before the end of the day. But we're going to plan a rest day in a couple days and maybe split tomorrow's ride up into 2 days. The road conditions, maybe a 4. Overall feeling of positivity, I'm at a 4 right now. I need the energy that I had from week 1 back here in week 2. I was expecting, after you're done with week 1, you build up all these muscles and you get fast and strong, and that hasn't been the case for me. For the same grades that I'm riding at a slower pace here in week 2 than I did in week 1. So that's why that number is kind of low. I'm usually a positive person, but there's been some things to keep me discouraged about that past few days. The general store in Baker had exactly what I needed. Dr. Peter recommended these 2 things, and they had them. I probably overpaid for them, but hopefully this will give me some relief from my hives.